All right. Okay. Hi, guys. I am here with Shannon, and no, you guys do not know her, probably most of you. But she has come into my life from Instagram, and we kind of, I think we clicked over dogs, obviously. And we ended up going hiking together, and I learned all kinds of things and thought, you all need to know all these things. So I'm going to have Shannon introduce herself and tell a little bit about, where she comes from, what she does, and so that we can kind of get into this with humans, because she works with humans, and how it flows into the dog world.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I really appreciate that. Um, so it initially went into kind of mainstream healthcare. I got a pre-medical bachelor's degree, and then went into a doctoral level program for physical therapy. So that is my education path.
Mhm.
However, I came out of school, went into mainstream medicine, and it didn't take me very long to realize that I was not I just felt very stifled by the way the system was working with um, kind of like diagnosing people, over medicating people.
Mhm.
Um, and I just felt like we were never finding solutions for these people. My brain kind of works like half engineer, half private investigator. Like
Right.
I want to
Yeah,
know
I love
all,
that stuff too.
yeah, like I want
Yeah.
to know the details. Like why did this happen?
Yeah.
Why is this very young person breaking down? Why is their body
Mm.
breaking down? Why do they need high doses of prednisone to live their life? Like what
Yeah.
we're missing, we didn't talk about what's happening at the cellular level. Like I want to understand that so I can
Mm.
actually help this person and not just put it's like we were just putting band-aids on things and never solving a problem. And so
Right.
it was clear to me pretty early on. I'm like, this allopathic approach just is not working for me. So I just took a deep dive into every alternative method I could find, and
Yep.
every practitioner I could find. I would read the books they wrote, and we have, the advantage of being on the internet now where you can find all this information. I would connect with people. I would reach out to them. And people, people want like this right here, like how we're
Yes.
connected. People want this. So these
Yes.
practitioners would talk to me. They would get on calls. They would have conversations with me. I would learn from them. And so I just started taking every continuing education course I could. I went and got a bunch of certifications in different things. And then slowly over time, I just kind of broke away from the mainstream path because people kept reaching out to me and I would help them. I started working with people on the side so that I could
Right.
learn for myself. And and then I was just seeing such great results and I would help one person and then I would be helping their husband and their kids and their
Right.
dog. Like it
Their
was like,
friends.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and I've always been like one of those super nerdy dog people even before it was cool. Like I never gave my dog, right out of college. I mean, I was like 22
Right.
and I
Yeah.
didn't give my dog flea and tick stuff because I was like, wait a minute, I'm
Right.
putting this on him. I can't touch it. And
Right.
and I was like one of
Okay for
those,
him.
yeah, right. And I was one of those weirdos that like never wore sunscreen. I would like read the
Wow.
labels on
That
everything.
always amazes me. Like
Like
way back in the day, like everybody did that. So what made you step away from that? Just your education, like knowing, like you just knew, or it just didn't seem right to you?
I've just always been a weirdo. I just think
Ah,
like
I love that though, because
I
that
just
it's not
always,
weird anymore. Like
yeah.
that's real. That's what the problem is.
I think like I was raised like around my grandparents who were like these really just like they were just they just used natural medicine. It was
Mm,
like
right.
everything was like
Yeah.
some ointment, tea tree oil, a
Yeah.
hot toddy if you're sick, like
Right.
like go get something out of the garden.
Yeah.
And like that's how I was raised. Like
Right.
and
Yeah.
so I
Yep.
think I just never bought into it and it always
Mm,
seemed and every time I would go to the doctor, I would always feel worse.
right.
Anything I ever got as a kid, I just remember it made me more sick. So
Right. Yeah.
so yeah, when I got my first dog, I was like very protective of him, obviously. And then just people in my life seeing the way that I was raising that dog, they would
Mm,
ask me questions about dogs. And like, so it just that's kind of how I ended up in the dog world. But yeah, the human side of it, I transitioned to what I'm doing now, which is more kind of what I call integrative wellness, where
Mm,
I'm still using a lot of the testing of allopathic
right.
medicine, the blood work and the basics.
Yeah.
But then from there, I'm
Treatment is
expanding.
different.
Yeah, the treatment and a lot of the testing, like is, and the lab values are very, very different that we
Mm,
use. A lot of the mainstream stuff, they're just basing it on, it's like if you're a collegiate athlete and a 65-year-old, like your lab work is supposed to look the same. Like that's
right.
how they're, it's like everything is kind of just a base. They're looking for
Yeah.
baseline. Well,
Yeah.
my baseline and your baseline may be very different, right? So
Right.
we look at things and explore deeper than just that kind of surface level. You should fit into this little,
Mm,
you know,
yeah.
yeah. So
When you worked as a PT and you had people come to you and you were more on the mainstream side of things, did they, when they told you things like, well, my doctor's has me on this or I'm doing that, were you like, and or did they come to you and be like, hey, I don't like what my doctor's doing. Do you know any other practices? Or how did it how did it come to that? Did people come to you or did you reach out to them and be like, you know what? I don't, how about you try this? Or what about this? How did it work for you?
I think by nature of just the way I would talk to people,
Mm,
they would realize that I was open to their opinion, right?
right.
Because like
Yeah.
that's how medicine's set up. Like it's like a dictatorship. Like I
Right.
know more about your body than you do. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't believe that, right? It's like if you're
Yeah.
coming to me and telling me something about you, like like I don't know, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
so I think by nature of the way I would ask questions and explore, then people would be more open with me. And I would
Mm,
always say, like, do you want to try something different? Like,
right.
I can help you with that. Like,
Yeah.
these are
Right.
some things that I would do.
Right.
And over time, it would be like, I would change people's diet, and they would eat
Mm,
like that for a week and come back the next week and say, like, I don't have shoulder pain. Like, what the heck did you
right.
do? How did you know that, like,
Right. How
that's
did
what
you know
was
what I was
causing?
missing?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it would, it kind of started that way.
Yeah.
And then
And
when
did
I
you
just,
find that you were working more with clients on the side more than or just as much as people that were coming in for your,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's so when you have people that are coming in, did you ever have like, I don't know, one or two people or whatever that would come in and that were so, I don't want to say screwed up, but kind of like going down a bad path that you said, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this, and started them down this way. Did you have any of those clients that were like an aha moment for you where you were like, oh, this is awesome that you can see this kind of result from the before and the after from doing things this way? Do you have a specific client that comes to mind or like, yeah, that was awesome and I knew this is what I needed to be doing?
Yeah, I think you're gonna like this one because it's about gut health. But I think the aha moment for me, of like just that I needed to like I I needed to go into a different way of treating.
Mm,
I had this patient and she came to me with back pain, and I just knew something was wrong. Like this was like a totally healthy person, super active, really fit, and think like I just had this sense that it was something deeper than just like generalized back pain. And,
right.
and she was doing all the things I was asking her to do, and it wasn't really getting better the way that I knew it should be getting better. And so one day I just kind of dug into her history a little bit, started asking her a lot of questions. Long story short, I found out that a family member of hers had been diagnosed in the past with ankylosing spondylitis, which is a really debilitating like disease process. Basically, your spine degenerates and fuses together.
Ugh.
And this particular family member had passed away like in their 40s. Like that it
Oh my,
had actually, sometimes it can be that progressive and it
mm,
affects your posture. So then you like have a hard time breathing. And a lot of these people can get really sick and actually pass away. Well,
wow.
so but she said to me, she's like, but my doctor didn't test me for it because it doesn't occur in females. And I was like, that's not true. It's more rare in females,
Right.
but like it's not true. So sure enough, I had her, I called the doctor, we got her the genetic test. She had the gene, like they test like a gene for it. She had it. And she was like devastated. And
Yeah.
I was like, I'm like, do you trust me on this? And she's like, yeah, been the only one that's listened to me. Like, I'll do whatever you say. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't believe that this is incurable. Like, I just don't. Like, we're gonna figure this out. So fast forward, I dug into the research, into the literature, and that I found out that this disease process is caused by a gut bacteria called Klebsiella. That particular gut bacteria feeds on like starch.
Mm.
Um, and so I was like, will you modify your diet? Will you change things up? Can we see like, sure enough, we totally, gutted her diet, started from scratch, took all the starch out, and like a couple of months, and she was like good to go, totally fine. Um, and to this day, like I'm still friends with her, and she
Wow.
is killing it.
So does that like stop the progression of the
Yeah.
disease? Like it just stopped
Hmm.
it?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, I don't think we truly understand the mechanics of what happens, but what I
Mm.
think,
Right.
these gut, obviously, if this is infecting your gut, then it's becoming systemic,
Mm.
right? So is that what is your
Right.
body is attacking the
Right.
bacteria?
That's
The
the problem. Yeah.
bacterial loads probably are what's causing that inflammation, that inflammatory response. Um, and as soon as you get rid of that pathogenic strain, kind of repopulate your gut with a better microbiome,
Yeah.
then you don't have that, you don't
Right.
have those symptoms anymore.
Right.
The inflammation went away, like the pain went away.
That is
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
Wow.
And the
But
crazy thing is, like, again, mainstream medicine told her that it was like basically that was it.
right.
You're going to
Yeah.
be on autoimmune drugs, you're going to be on
Yeah. Yeah.
anti-inflammatories.
And those would have
Um,
all been so much worse.
yeah,
You just couldn't right downhill.
yeah. And yeah, and it wouldn't have fixed anything.
Right.
Yeah, so that was, I think, probably the defining moment for me
Mm.
to just know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, so, if you lumped all your clients together, what is the most common thing that you see that people have that's fixable? Because I know you think most things are fixable,
yeah.
right? Um, so what's the most common thing that you'd be like, oh, geez, so many people have this issue?
I mean, I think the most common thing that people come to me with it's always like the digestive disorders.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, I would say probably 50 to 60% of people have some sort of digestive distress.
Yeah.
Um, but a close second are just autoimmune
Mm.
diagnoses.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is some of this related to the heavy metals in our system? And does that kind of create the autoimmune issue?
Yeah, I would say sometimes definitely they contribute to autoimmune disorders. I guess the way I see it is that, you're when we're poisoned with these things or inoculated with these things, however you want to look at it,
Right.
your body's finding ways to get rid of that, and sometimes that's like, detox pathways, like it's through your skin. You hope that it's coming out through your stool and your urine, but your body's going to do what it can to push it distally, detox it. And so, yeah, sometimes these things end up in your brain and your nerves, in your skin, in your digestive tract, and create inflammation, irritation. So yeah, I definitely think, you know, I think there's more light being shed on things like Parkinson's and MS
Mm.
being heavy metals. Like they've
Yep.
finally admitted Alzheimer's. They find a lot of aluminum in the brains of people with Alzheimer's, and
Right. Right.
um, so yes, like I do
So
think
is
it's
that
a
is that
factor.
one of the things that you know, pretty much with any issue people have, do you start there or how do you Do you start with blood work? Like what are the basic things you do? And then you're like, oh, there it is.
I uh, it, I listen to people's story first
Mm.
off.
Yep.
I think you can tell a lot just from most people tell me what's going on without actually telling me.
Yep.
And at this point, I know the signs and symptoms of like heavy metal toxicity versus just like a gut, like the story that I told you about that
Yeah.
patient. That was a gut pathogen, and so sometimes it is that. Sometimes it is just like
Right.
an infection, an overgrowth. A lot of people like will end up with fungal overgrowths and things from a lot of the high carb diets we're eating, or the wrong kind of carbs, I should say.
Yeah.
Um, so I start off with people's story, and then from there I will get blood work. And
Mm.
so it depends on what people are willing to do. I have people that come to
Yeah.
me and they're like, money's not an issue. I want you to run every test under the sun. Makes my
Yeah.
job a lot easier when I can do that.
Right.
Because then I'm getting a hormonal panel, I'm getting regular blood work, and I'm getting
Yeah.
a toxin screen. And then I know what's going on. Sometimes
Right.
people don't have that.
Mm.
They're just like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have the money to do that. And so I listen to their story. And you can usually tell they're just people that are like really anxious for no reason, or like brain fog is a huge one. Like people that are just like, no matter what I do, like I'm just foggy, I'm not clear.
Mm.
Um, Inability to pay attention. To me, those are all like signs of heavy metals.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and like with lead, people will be like, you think about lead as being like really kind of heavy and draining. Those people will be really lethargic, kind of slow in their speech. Um,
Mm.
you just can like tell that it's like everything they've got to just like have a conversation
Right.
with you. Um, so I'm looking for things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. So with those people, when these tests come back, positive or however they come back, so you know that they've got some toxins in there. Um, you just have them do a detox first, or is that like all they need? Once they do the detox, they're good, or is it a detox and then a gut thing? Like, what do you suggest for those people?
Yeah. So it's pretty situational. Like if so, for instance, if I have somebody, like I just had somebody recently that came back with like really high mercury levels.
Mhm.
Those kind of people, I'm like really careful with them, because you don't want to dislodge all of that and have it become like systemic in a hurry, because that person's going to be really uncomfortable.
Yep.
So with somebody like that, I'm kind of cycling detox. There are certain things that like have an affinity for mercury, so I'll cycle that for a few weeks, and then maybe switch it up with another binder. And then slowly you're supplementing things like selenium, which mercury really displaces selenium. So people are very selenium deficient when they're high in mercury.
Mhm.
But again, you're just slowly doing that because that's going to push some mercury out. So I'm making
Yep.
sure that as I'm doing that, I'm adding more binders.
Right.
Um, so it's kind of, more of a cyclical detox, I would say. But if
Mhm.
someone's just comes to me and they've got a little bit of mercury, a little bit of aluminum, it's not a big deal, then yeah, I'm running a month of the binders. And then, if they're doing well after that, I may not even retest them.
Oh, okay.
Unless they want to. Some people want to, and that's fine.
Right. Yeah. I would
But
definitely want to see a difference, I think, if it were me.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but like I had somebody just recently, she had pretty high mercury. I put her on the modified citrus pectin. Months later, she's like, yeah, I have had brain fog for my entire adult life. She's like, for the first time in my life, I can think clearly. Like she's doing great.
Right.
Like I don't
But they don't
have,
even need a test because they can feel it. They feel
yeah,
the difference.
yeah. So to answer, and then yeah, to answer your question, somebody that's really toxic, then yes, it's going to be binding, it's going to be nutrient repletion, and then I am definitely going to target their gut health, going after just like gut lining, making sure that you kind of, because the heavy metals also will just destroy gut bacteria.
Mhm.
So you're just trying to build that back up so they're more resilient in the future. Like the
Right.
better your microbiome is, the more mineral replete you are, then you have like a better defense against these things.
Mhm.
So that's my goal in the end, is to get them to that point where they're more resilient to any exposure in the future.
So if you backtrack a minute, so where are people getting these toxins? For people that don't know, where are they picking up the mercury and the lead and aluminum?
Well, the one of the worst offenders are vaccines, because most vaccines are, um, the preservatives in them are mercury and aluminum.
Mhm.
Um, and I would say fish, like I see a lot of like my clients that eat a lot of sushi,
Yeah.
bad idea. They're full of
Mhm.
mercury. The bigger fish, like bigger salmon, swordfish, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff's pretty heavy in mercury.
It's wild caught fish.
I mean, who knows? What do they give you at a
Right.
sushi restaurant? Do you really
Right.
know?
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, even like I wouldn't eat wild caught. I wouldn't eat swordfish. I
Yeah.
definitely not. Personally, just after what I've seen.
Right.
Yeah, and some of those bigger fish, ooh, yeah,
Yeah.
I would stay away from
Ah,
that.
right.
What else? And then
So what about the food? So like a sprayed, you know, how everybody eats nowadays if you're not eating organic. So the
yeah,
things that are being sprayed, is that something that creates some toxins in our body?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely fertilizers. Yes, yeah,
Okay. All right.
yeah, like lawn pesticides, like all of that stuff is
Right.
absolutely terrible. And then
So do you think most people would benefit from a detox?
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, it depends. And it depends on where you live. Like,
Hmm.
where did you go on vacation recently? Were you in Florida? What was that place?
Bradenton?
Yeah.
Bradenton?
Were you like right on the
Pennsylvania?
beach? Were you like right on the beach?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So if that's your life, where you're
Mm.
waking up every morning, watching the sunrise, grounding with your feet on the beach,
Yes.
swimming
In
in
the
the middle,
sun.
yeah, in the sun, getting
Yeah.
vitamin D, swimming in the middle of the day, you're getting like an ionic bath from the seawater, salt water, magnesium, you're absorbing all those things, and then you're, you know, again, back in the sun, and then you're watching the sunset and whatever. If that's your
Yeah.
life, then no, probably not.
Probably good.
But
Mm.
if you're, driving in traffic, stressed out, eating any mainstream food,
Yeah.
getting vaccines,
Yeah.
breathing exhaust, living in a suburban area, like your neighbors are spraying for mosquitoes and who knows what else, then yeah,
Mm.
100%. Like
100%. Yeah.
I have, there's been yet to be a person that I've tested that hasn't have something in them, whether it's,
Right.
BPA or like the exhaust fumes, like all that
Mhm.
stuff comes up on those tests.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Cool.
uh,
I mean, it's just interesting to me as always. It just fascinates me. Um, the sick world we live in. But anyway, so this also pertains to dogs.
yes.
Because dogs live in our world. So I know we had talked about detoxing dogs, and I have since done your protocol on my dogs. Um, And that would come from the food that they eat, the vaccines that we give them, and the air that they breathe and their stress level and all of that. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So you also, to start with, so you have a dog, Thor,
Hmm.
and he was having some issues.
Yeah.
So what was happening with him?
Yeah. Which is super unfortunate because I know better. So like I know all of these things, right? Like I
Mhm.
I
Yep.
know what vaccines do to us, do to dogs. And he lives a very healthy dog life. Like from the moment I got him, I started feeding him raw. Like I am over the top with all that stuff, but I had this vet that I trusted, and I personally wasn't going to give him the rabies vaccine until he was a year.
Mhm.
But I took him in at 8 months just because I wanted to run blood work because he came from a little bit of a sketchy situation.
Yep.
So I just wanted some labs, and this particular person convinced scared me,
Yeah.
convinced me,
Fear.
the fear mongering about
Yeah.
the legal implications of like,
If he bit someone.
yes, you
Yeah.
know, and I live in a very suburban area,
Right.
stupid, panicked, whatever, did the thing. So later, you know, thought that he just got a rabies vaccine. I want to say it was like 2 or 3 days later. I had gone up north to go hunting with him, and I woke up in the morning and he stopped quick on like a slippery floor and went into a full-blown epileptic seizure. It was really long.
Mm.
It was awful, lost consciousness. And I knew exactly what was going on.
Yep.
So from that day on, I did a mercury detox on him for like 3 months, just kind of cycled in different binders, you know, like got really, really strict with his diet. And he recovered never, like from that point on with that, that never happened again.
Right.
Um, and then I took him back to the vet to tell them what had happened.
Mm.
Um, and when I got there, there was like a miscommunication. Something happened, and they actually had printed my records and handed them to me. And so I was
Mm.
waiting in the waiting room, and I looked at it, and it was like he's due for his like lepto booster. And the lady was like, "Oh, he needs his
Booster.
lepto booster." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean I'm like, he's never had like that shot. Like he just had rabies and he doesn't need a booster." And she's like, "No, no, no." Like she like showed me the apparently they had given him without me knowing it. They had
They
also
gave him rabies and lepto at the same time, the two harshest vaccines out
yeah.
there.
After I specifically and for minutes was hemming and hawing and obviously
Right. Right.
very upset about the situation. Yeah, just took him back with somebody else that just
Yeah.
decided to do whatever they thought that should be done.
Mm.
I had no idea.
Right. Wow.
So
That is
yeah,
awful. Um, and just to lead into the next thing, because I know you are doing this Pet Summit thing and you're going to be talking on a specific subject.
yes,
Um, from there, he stopped having seizures.
yeah,
And then what? Did he start having them again, or what were you noticing?
yeah. So that I would say at about he was good for a good 6 or 8 months after that, like totally fine.
Mm.
Um, and then he started having these episodes where like anytime that he would get excited or worked up, like in a good way, like just happy to see you or excited to see one of his friends on the street,
Mm.
he would have these seizures like at different parts of his body where like all of a sudden his back legs would just stop working. Like he couldn't walk, his legs wouldn't work.
Right.
He would get like head tremors, like his head would just start shaking. Um, yeah, it was pretty odd. He would have I guess they call them like fly biting seizures. Like he would just like he was like seeing things like
Mm.
and he'd just start like looking up like something was flying around his head, but it
Yeah.
wasn't. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So you
Yeah.
did a deep dive anyway. You figured it out. It's a amazing story, and we're not going to talk about it today because you'll be talking about it with someone else, and I don't want to cross
Yeah.
that. But I hope everyone listens to that as well. So you've put together a detox protocol that I'm going to have on my site.
Yes.
And so when this finally airs, people will be able to get that. So I'll put a link down below or whatever where people can get to that. And I also have down there as well in the comment section or whatever how to get in touch with you. Because I know you are going to be doing these one-on-one consulting things with people that want it, and you kind of do it now anyway. But I need the direct link because I know people can be like, how can I talk to her?
Yeah.
So we'll have all that when this actually airs, where people can go to have a one-on-one with you or reach out to you somehow or whatever. I appreciate your time, and this has been great. And like I said, I hope people will be listening with your next interview because it is a fascinating story that I've had many people talk to me about that specific issue as well. And now I have a story to tell them, not a good one. It ends okay, but still, it was a long haul for you. And
Yeah.
it was really cool that you figured it out. So anyway, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And maybe we'll have you again.